as you all probably know, I'm assuming that you all follow my country very closely, after more than a year of secret talks brokered by Switzerland, Turkey and Armenia last April initialed a set of protocols that would have made it possible for our borders to be reopened and for diplomatic ties to be established. And soon after, well, not that soon after, but sometime in August, those protocols were actually signed. And your country, the US government, did play a very significant role in all of this. They were very helpful. But unfortunately, my country did not stick to the terms of that deal. Nowhere in those protocols was Nagorno-Karabakh mentioned, nor was Azerbaijan. Yet within days of the protocols being initialed, the Prime Minister of Turkey announced before the Azeri parliament that there could be no relations with Armenia until Armenia withdrew from Nagorno-Karabakh, and that Armenia and Azerbaijan made peace. And the Armenians very rightly then said, well, you know, you're not playing by the rules. So where are we now today in terms of the protocols? Well, Armenia has suspended the process, and there may come a time, and not in the so distant future, when Armenia may even have to withdraw its signature from the protocols, because Serge Sarkisyan, the Armenian president, is under tremendous pressure from nationalists at home. And I don't think that Turkey can even begins to appreciate the difficulties he's faced and how big a risk President Sarkisyan took when he supported this whole reconciliation process and brought it to the point where these signatures were made. And equally in Armenia too, I think that they don't really understand what's going on in Turkey either. But if we're to consider the present mood in my country, especially given recent events with the flotilla incident, with the prevailing, growing, unfortunately, anti-Western sentiment, it's very hard to imagine that Prime Minister Erdogan will at this point do very much to push this process forward, especially given that we have elections at the latest by the summer of next year. In Armenia too, there will be elections in 2011, I believe presidential elections, to be followed by, or maybe it's the parliamentary ones. Somebody correct me. And so even if the AK party were to come back to power alone, they would have to reintroduce the protocols to the new parliament. Would they do so? I don't really know. A lot might depend on what happens in this city, in your Congress. But it's not all doom and gloom, and I'm really very happy to say that, you know, where the politicians have failed, ordinary people have risen to the occasion. Civil society in my country is growing stronger by the day, and they now are the torchbearers for this process of reconciliation with Armenia. For the first time this year, hundreds of people gathered in my city, Istanbul, some on the Asian side, some in Taksim Square on the European side. They gathered for a vigil to commemorate the tragedy of 1915. They sat in silence, they lit candles, and they prayed, and nobody touched them, nobody tried to disrupt them. Nothing bad happened that day. I'm very proud to be able to share this with you. And I cannot think of a single day that I don't receive some kind of invitation to some kind of workshop that brings Turks and Armenians from all different walks of life together. These could be students, filmmakers, musicians. It's just incredible, the volume of activity that's going on that front. And recently at Cannes, a joint Armenian-Turco production won the Best Short Documentary Film Award, which tells the story of these stray dogs that were all sent off to this island of Istanbul. And it's a horrible story, but anyway, I won't bore you with it. And so that is the happy part of the story. Ever since I've come to this town, though, tell me that given how badly Turkey has behaved, it seems more likely than ever now that the US Congress will pass this genocide resolution. Well, my response to that is, well, jolly good. I hope it does pass, because I think the threat of its passing is far more damaging than any result of its passing could be. I think it's time that we got over this, over this threat that keeps looming over us, that poisons our relations, and which at the end is informed by so much cynicism, because so many of the Congress people who support this resolution probably could not even tell me where Armenia was on the map. But having said that, and also might I add that, if it were to pass, I think if our leaders chose not to make such a big deal of it, even though I know the opposition will be jumping all over them, it may be that, things won't be so bad. I mean, look at where we are now with Israel. Yes, Israeli soldiers killed 9 Turkish citizens. Well, we still have diplomatic relations with the state of Israel. So let's not be so scared of all of this. And let me add that, if Armenians in this country, or rather US citizens of Armenian descent, will feel some sort of, if they want their elected Congress people to pass this resolution, and if it makes them feel better, well, that's their right. It's not up to us to interfere in that process. And am I talking too much?
No. Well, we'll have a lot more discussion on this, I suspect, too. So
there's a lot more. There's a lot more I want to say, but let me just say that my country is going through a process of having to process so much, because we're learning so much that was concealed from us all these years. I mean, for decades we had no idea what happened. I mean, we had some inkling in 1915, but we didn't really know the details. We had no idea what happened in 1938 in the province of Tunceli in eastern Turkey, where thousands of Kurds were killed. There's so much that we're having to process, to digest. It will take time, but I'm hopeful that I just think it's an irreversible process, and just to satisfy this policy audience, what kind of policy recommendations would I make? Well, there are some easy things that Turkey could do with Armenia. For instance, it could buy electricity from Armenia. The Armenians want to sell us electricity to eastern Turkey. I think, that's a no-brainer. Why not? And also, I do believe that Turkey needs to restore all these Armenian monuments, and there's so many of them. I've seen such beautiful places in ruins, monuments in eastern Turkey and elsewhere, and I think that's the least we can do to make